It doesn't take a marketing guru to know selling a $12,000 product for $1 isn't a good business model. But that's what Guide Dogs of Texas is doing. The only program of its kind in the entire state invests 2 years in raising and training very valuable dogs, only to essentially give them away. CEO Sandy Merrill, Training Director Jamie Massey, and Development Director Peggy Cervera are going to lead me through the ins and outs of these clever canines. Welcome to Bearcast. I'm Randy Langford, and this is Bearcast, a weekly interview with business, political, educational, and nonprofit leaders. We're examining the relationships between all four and how each one benefits from the success of the other three. Sandy Merrill has been CEO of Guide Dogs of Texas since 2014 and has worked in the guide dog mobility field since 2001. Jamie Massey is a certified guide dog mobility instructor and the training director at Guide Dogs of Texas. And Director of Development Peggy Cervera is a nonprofit veteran of San Antonio who has served on numerous boards and headed some of the city's largest fundraising events. I've got the whole brain trust here. That's great. Thank you. Thanks for making time for me. So I don't know who I want to pose the first question to, but tell me about Guide Dogs of Texas. I know it's been around since 1989, and I know it involves guide dogs, but tell me what you do.
Well, we're here to help restore the freedom, mobility, and independence for Texans who are blind. And we are actually the only guide dog school for the entire state of Texas. So we have a really big mission with over 500,000 people here who have got some severe visual impairment.
That's kind of amazing. The only one in Texas.
Yeah, there really aren't that many guide dog schools in the United States. And even in our area, not only are we the only one in Texas, but there's no other school for over 1,500 miles of us.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So that floors me. I had no idea the resources were stretched that broadly. So you train dogs and you train the recipients of those dogs as well, right? On how to use the dog?
That's right. And so we work with people from the moment that they lose their sight. And a lot of times when people lose their sight, they call us first because they think of guide dogs often before they think of any other type of rehabilitation that is out there to help them. And so from that moment, we try to make a partnership with that person because they're at a point where their life has come crashing down for a lot of people. And
Right.
it's quite difficult to piece all the things you need back together again. And so we start right away by helping connect them with resources in their area, whether
Okay.
it's low vision clubs and lighthouses and all the different pieces you need in the rehab puzzle. And then when they're ready for a guide dog, then we can go out and visit with them as well and look at how they're getting around and if a guide dog is going to actually make them safer or be able to get around more quickly and easily.
Right.
And so, the guide dog can make a tremendous difference for people being able to actually go about their daily lives.
Absolutely. So how do you select the dogs? I know they're not just random. They're highly trained dogs. How do you choose which dogs to focus on?
Definitely. We have our own breeding program. We work with other guide dog and service dog schools. And so all of these guys have been specifically bred for guide dog or service dog work. So their temperament and their health has, been tracked generations and generations back. So step one, these are awesome dogs to work with. We also do temperament testing when they are 5 months and then also at a year old. So we can kind of track their progress and make sure they're still kind of set to make it as a guide dog. But all of these guys, they have a beautiful temperament for guide dog work.
When do you start training them? I mean, is it almost from birth?
On day 2 of life.
Oh my
So the
God.
first day we let them rest.
Just take a break. Get your legs
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. But we start with, when their eyes aren't even open, we're doing little handling sessions where we touch their feet, We touch them all over their body. We put them in different positions, like the supine position. And then as their eyes start to open, we put different things in the whelping pool. Some of those things are hanging from like a little nursery mobile to kind of try and get the dogs to look up. Because as a guide dog, they're going to be like looking up to protect their client from hitting their head on tree branches. So we're, really encouraging the dogs to explore their world. We play an iPod that has somewhere between 200 to 300 different sounds. So as their ears start to open up and they can start hearing those sounds, they're listening to trains and car horns honking, vacuum cleaners, a kettle whistling. So we're just trying to expose these puppies to as much as we can between that 2 days old and that 8 week of age. They've met other breeds of dogs, bunnies, parrots. They start potty training. They learn how to sit, as well as they learn how to wear their little puppy jackets. So when they go out into their volunteer homes, you're already getting a pup that has a good jump start on their training.
Okay. All right. And how do you select who receives the dogs?
Yeah, so we do have like a temperament testing when the pups are 7 weeks of age. And so we'll look at the temperament of the dog and we'll look at the handlers that are ready for a puppy. So if you have a dog that might need a more experienced puppy raiser, we have people that have raised 11 puppies for us. So we have very experienced raisers, and then we have dogs that we know that they'll do well in our positive approach program, which is a puppy raising program out at the Dominguez State Jail here in San Antonio. So you want to have a dog that is going to be sound with loud noises, and because the doors are pretty loud out there at Dominguez. So we'll kind of take a look at the puppies, do a temperament testing, and then select the handlers from there.
Okay. I've encountered some guide dogs in the real world, and they're just remarkably, unbelievably calm. I don't know how I could be that calm. I've seen them on buses. I've seen them in traffic. I've seen them in stores on the street, and they are just absolutely focused and absolutely chill. Nothing phases them. That's a remarkable job.
They pretty much have seen it all and done it all by the time they graduate,
By the time they get to me, they've been through the mill. So it's interesting. You tell the story about how you're the only facility of your kind in Texas. So if somebody in Texarkana gets a dog, do they come to San Antonio to be partnered and go through basic training with the dog?
We're actually unique in that we provide our services locally to wherever somebody is in Texas. And so although we do have our nursery facility here and our main office here, it's the only brick and mortar in the state.
Oh.
But we do have kind of satellites. So we'll have staff that will go out, or maybe they're already there, depending on where somebody's located. And they'll go out and do the interview in their home area, walk on the routes that they're actually trying to walk on and use every day, and do all the training in that area. So the instructor will stay in a hotel if they're coming from far away.
How long does that take? How long is that introduction period?
It's usually about 3 weeks to get established with a new dog, where it's very, very intense. And because you're working pretty much all day with that new dog and learning everything about them, from how to care for them to how to understand what they're telling you, what the communication is. And there's a lot of back and forth. So the dog is also learning, because at that point they know the skills and they know how to guide somebody around things and indicate things in the environment. But they have to understand their person they're working with too.
Sure.
And so they become very good at being kind of custom to that person as well. And it almost looks like magic sometimes when they're together. It almost looks like they're just flawlessly just moving through space. It's incredible.
Absolutely. Given that the dogs are custom designed and made for an individual. That's and the intense training that they go through. That's got to be expensive. What does it cost to raise and train a certified guide dog?
It costs about $17 a day for somebody to use a guide dog and to have that like freedom and mobility and to be able to achieve their dreams and be part of our community again. And so for us, there is an expense there, and it's something the school provides for $1 to the client. And so, that's why we really rely on a lot of donations and volunteer support and all sorts of wonderful things to make our mission possible.
$1.
Yeah.
You can't get a puppy from the pound for $1.
No. And not only are you getting the dog that's gone through 2 years of custom training, this exceptional breeding program, unbelievable temperaments and willingness, but you're also getting the all of the follow-up care, because we don't just graduate our teams and then say, see you later, good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Right.
We hope it goes well for you.
Yeah.
No, we're out there, to make sure, and we visit everybody every year. And if they need help, if something comes up in their life that changes, like maybe they have a new job or they've moved and they don't know anything around them anymore, we'll try to get out there and help them, learn the new routes and things.
So it's not just dog-related issues; it's people-related issues that you address as well.
Yep.
Wow. So Peggy, I guess the next question's for you. How do you pay for all this?
Me.
When you're giving away dogs for $1? How do you pay the bills?
Honestly, through the generosity of others. We are 100% a nonprofit organization, and we do not receive any government funding. Any insurance doesn't pay for our guide dog. Those types of things. Seriously, people are confused about those types of things. And we, again, do not charge our clients for it other than $1, so that it's a contractual thing to turn over of the dog. And the main thing that's also not only the 2 years to breed and create this amazing guide dog, but it's the human part of it that is really an amazing thing. We have this whole team of professionals who are certified by the International Guide Dog Federation. They're true scientists in regards to matching and looking at the clients and meeting their unique needs. But not only during that matching and that ongoing class time, but it's a lifetime thing, because a guide dog works for 8 years.
Right. Yeah.
And so from an investment standpoint, as a donor, Guide Dogs of Texas is honestly such a sound investment, because we do have a 100% graduation rate. Our retention rates are like 80% as far out that guide dogs keep working. And so that's why we actually measure our success in days of guided sight, on the number of days a guide dog and their partner, their team work, because that's what we're funding. That's what, as a donor, I want to support, is that mission of giving a guide dog and their blind disabled client guided sight, being able to open up that world. And so we measure our success based on the number of days those teams work. So obviously it's an ongoing process, because we want to make certain that they're successful throughout their entire working partnership,
Right.
Not just here's your guide dog and, good luck. And from a volume standpoint, that works really well for some other guide dog schools, but because we're so specialized, we actually meet the needs of those who that kind of model does not work for. So the going off, to a school like you thought that we were, that, going off to a school, getting your guide dog and coming home and having to apply what you learn on your own, that's not always successful. So that's why they may measure and count the number of guide dogs and teams that are out there. We actually count the number of days of guided sight given.
Wow. So let me make sure I'm clear here. So it's 2 years of training and 8
Correct.
years of working. So is it a 10-year bill?
It's a 10-year commitment, correct. So at the end of the 10th year, we evaluate both the client and the dog, because those things change. I know in 8 years, I sure changed a lot.
Oh.
So, you know what I'm saying? And so we look at that, and that we retire the guide dog, and then are at the same time, knowing that that retirement is coming up, our amazing staff is preparing them for another guide dog, training another guide dog, because it takes 2 years for that person, knowing that their needs have changed in 8 years, that their gait could have changed. They could be faster. They could be in better shape. Who knows? But a lot of things change in your world in 8 years. And so that's why when having a guide dog and as a donor investment, it is this whole 10-year process per person. So it's not like you're just saying, okay, it's not transactional. Here's your guide dog, see you later. Right. It's a whole commitment. Not only the 2 years to create the guide dog on the front end, but to support everything, their success of the teams on the back end.
Yeah.
And how does the supply line up with the demand? Are you able to accommodate everybody that wants or needs a dog?
I'll let you answer that as a director of training.
So we are seeing a huge increase, especially in the San Antonio area, of people that need a guide dog. So we are currently trying to grow our program so we can meet that need. We have started an apprentice guide dog mobility instructor, because it takes 4 years after a bachelor's degree to certify someone to be able to train a guide dog and our clients. So it's a total of 8 years of education, at least, to get your certification. And so that is the only way, honestly, to grow as a program, is to increase our certified guide dog mobility instructors. And so, with the growth that we've seen in San Antonio, we're probably going to hire another apprentice in the spring, and we'll have 2 apprentices.
And it's a job that people don't often think about. You don't hear about very often when you're in school. And so it's kind of cool to be able to talk about that a little bit, because it's really an amazing and fulfilling job where, one thing that we say is you'll never be bored.
No.
You'll never find that every day is the same, because it's just different. And everything you're doing can be transformational for somebody. So it's a cool job. It's a cool career.
That's kind of a very good point, that, I'm working with a puppy, or I'm training a dog, or I'm doing a spreadsheet. But the work that I'm doing today is going to impact somebody's life for 8 years. And the work I do tomorrow will impact somebody else's life for another 8 years. That's pretty powerful. That's pretty easy to come to work.
It's an amazing thing. It really is. And if anyone's interested that's listening to this, please give us a call. We'd love to tell you about it.
Absolutely. And let's dive into that a little bit more. You were in the first ever Bear Fest. Guide Dogs for Texas was in the first ever Bear Fest back in 2017. You were paired with Legacy Christian Academy. So you had that opportunity to bring high school students onto your facility and let them see what you're doing, and kind of make them aware of there are careers here that you might not have known about. What was that experience like for you as the people that were hosting those high school kids?
Well, it was interesting, because we didn't know exactly what to expect at the beginning, And when people come in and they're learning from scratch kind of what we're all about, but they asked really good questions, and they were thinking about, how can we portray what this is like to lose your sight and use a guide dog? And so they came up with an idea, which I love. It was a really cool idea, is that they started the video without any video component, just the sound. Right. And so it sounded like you were on a busy street corner, and you hear the sirens and the motorcycles and, the horns and everything else. And you really get that feeling of I'm out there, who's around me? Where am I in space? How do I cross the street? And it kind of helps get people into that mindset. That's hard to convey sometimes,
Sure.
Because when you're watching somebody using a guide dog and they're walking down the sidewalk, it looks easy. It looks easy. It looks like they're just out walking and they're confident.
And that was my experience when I've seen guide dogs in the wild.
Yep.
Easy peasy.
Yep, exactly. And what the part that's hard to convey really is the internal part of that, of the client is thinking about what their guide dog is telling them, which way the handle is pulling, and indicating to go. Am I going around an obstacle? Am I coming up to that curb? What street am I at again? Where am I in that traffic cycle to figure out when to say go to cross? And if my dog didn't go, is that because there's a car there, And so there's this constant thought process. But having the dog actually orient and do that part of it to get you around the obstacles and indicate the hazards leaves that person available to think about where they are in space and kind of focus on that piece of it. So you're not having to troubleshoot every piece of the route, every step of the route.
Sure, I can offload some of this to the dog and trust the dog while I focus on the other things that I have to be aware of. When you were paired up with one of the high schools, when you were paired up with Legacy Christian, I get it a lot from a lot of the nonprofits that have participated in the festival that they go into the process with certain expectations. Oh, these are high school kids. It's going to be a high school production. It'll be cute, but not very impactful. What surprised you the most about working with these kids?
I think there's a lot of things. And one of them was really the quality of what they produced was amazing. And that length of video is really, really useful for us because we find we have a lot of opportunities. And we actually use this video quite a lot for doing those presentations when we're in front of a group and we might have 10 minutes. But getting people in the mood of it and having showing that video to begin with makes a big difference because you can't always drag your clients around with you to say, to say,
right.
Tell me, what's it like being a guide dog owner? Well, you can't always do that, but the video did that for us.
Good. So you're partnered with Harlan High School this year. You're going to be back for this year. Having been through the process once, will you approach it any differently going into your second round?
I think one thing is kind of that back and forth of explaining what our mission is, but letting them come up with some creative ways to engage and tell that story, because that's what they're thinking about. How do we tell this story? And, so I'm looking forward to that because it's a unique time to let a group of kids who are bright and interested and engaged to really kind of think about that piece of it. And we don't have enough time to story tell, in our normal day-to-day lives. Sure. We just don't. So it's pretty cool.
Well, and there's that
perspective too that they haven't ever seen before. We're immersed in it, and so they can tell the story in a way that someone from the outside can understand it much better than perhaps we can tell it.
That's what I was just about to say. Is that fresh perspective, a new set of eyes that it's exactly like you say, it's routine to us. We see it every day, but for somebody that doesn't see it every day, this is a whole new world. And to have a fresh perspective on telling that story is certainly valuable. Absolutely. So when we started BearFest back in 2017, well, we founded it in 2016 and rolled it out in 2017. The idea was to give kids a chance to explore the media, creating, and a chance to get an inside look at what nonprofits do. Because we found a lot of kids, they think everybody at a nonprofit is a volunteer. There are no careers in community service. And we want them to understand that, yes, there are. There are a lot of careers. There's a lot of ways you can apply your education to serving the community and serving other people. We're finding a lot of students are getting more out of it than just that media experience. I've had teachers tell me that their kids kind of blossom during the process, that they go into it, they find out, okay, we're going to make a video, and then they find out, okay, we're going to be working with dogs. Okay, that's exciting, that's fun, this will be fun, it's playtime. And then they actually meet the nonprofit, and they meet the people that they're going to be working with, and especially the clients that their story is about. And it suddenly becomes much more serious, much more, we got a job to do and we're going to do it, and we're going to make sure we do it to the best of our ability. Did you see that in your team? Did they suddenly get a lot more serious and it got real?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think there's that magic moment really where they realize that they're creating something that's going to help change lives. I mean, that will help that nonprofit tell their story, raise money, be able to stay out there doing what we're supposed to be doing out there.
Right.
And so I definitely think so. And, for us, the last student group, they met one of our clients and their guide dogs and spent some time talking to her. And she was a teacher. She's a retired teacher,
Oh,
but she taught for years and years and years, and with her guide dog too, which was cool. But she was really good at, I think, bridging that a little bit, to talk to them a little bit about, you're doing something and you're going to learn from it, but this is a real thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
You're creating a product that is going to be used. And this is something that nonprofits need. I mean, it
Sure.
really, really is. And hopefully they also are going back to tell their peers too about all the things, because one nonprofit gives you a whole range of jobs. If you think about all the careers that are out
Oh,
there,
absolutely.
we need everything. We need finance people, we need board members, we need every piece of it in order to do the program. And so hopefully that kind of connects those up too.
It's a very good point, a very valid point, that one of the reasons we could have made the festival, just make a video about your school, or make a music video, or just make a video, but we decided deliberately to pair the kids with nonprofit organizations because there is such a need in the community for those resources. But there's also, it's one of those teachable moments that we engage kids with nonprofits in a fairly structured environment. You have a deadline, you have expectations, you have specs you have to meet, you have a client you have to answer to. And so we're giving the kids some real world job experience, that this isn't just for the sake of making a video. No, it has impact, and an impact on the nonprofit and an impact on the kids. This is the first time. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's an investment. I think by the end of it, they see that they really invested not only their time and creativity in something that is just as important for now, but has legs that will take it into the future. And so I think that that's kind of the transition that you see as, oh, there's this thing we have to do, to something that became an invested. They're more invested in it, both personally as well as understanding that that they actually are receiving something from it as well.
Right.
And that they have something to offer, because kids don't always know that they have talents that are useful. And, these are important skills and important talents that, nonprofits need, businesses need too. And,
Sure.
And so being able to show that, hey, you can do something cool and it's going to be appreciated. And it's a cool thing.
And going forward, it's only going to become more important. That ability to tell stories digitally is going to become more important for kids to be able to do. So one last question I wanted to explore. This is the first time a lot of these kids have interacted with adults as peers. Usually it's teacher, student, parent, child, but this was supplier, client. Did the kids react to that? Did you see your team suddenly, oh, I do have good ideas and I do get to have a say in how this is going to go? Did the kids respond to that?
Yeah, and I think it helps that it's a group of them too, because they're starting to talk to each other and throw ideas around. And and when we hear something and say, that's a cool idea,
right,
then all of a sudden you've become part of the the brain trust a little bit, to kind of build that up. And so yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, I just think this program is amazing. It really is. It's got such wonderful potential to help the community and to help students bridge that transition to having careers, and it's awesome.
Want to give them? I'm a firm believer in give a kid a chance. They'll surprise you.
Yeah.
They'll run with it. Well, ladies, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the work you do. Thanks for giving these kids these opportunities, and we'll see you at the premiere.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to it.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.